start and make it smaller. So if we're going to solve each inequality in graph, we're going to start just the way we've done before. We have the inequality. It has an inequality, so it's not an expression. Okay, it's an inequality. It has a left side and a right side. Combine those together. What's negative 3x plus 2x? Negative 1x. We do not have any opposite operations. We're not going from one side to the other. It's on the same side. Negative 3x plus 2x is negative 1x. How do I get rid of negative 1? Divide. Same thing we've been doing. We have x here. We have a negative 6 over here. This is that exception though. Because we divided by a negative, this has to flip. So, we're going to flip the inequality sign. Only when you divide by negative. I don't care what number's on top, like the 6, it's going to be positive or negative. But when you divide by a negative, you have to flip it. So when we read this, we need to read this as x is greater than or equal to 6. We're going to read that in words from left to right. X is greater than or equal to 6, negative 6. Negative on there. So it's on number 6, negative 6 on the number line. So we want to open or close circle. Close, because it can include it. Okay, so if we wanted to put out here, we can put it closed because we have that. This is what you're going to be referring back to. So if you have a question about it, you should write it. So we want greater than. That means that we're looking at the two numbers on either side. Which one is greater, negative 7 or negative 5? Negative 5, because negative 7 has more negatives, so it's smaller. So we want to go this way. So we're going to do sides the same way that we've done multi-step solving equations, junior high, now, the last 3 weeks, whatever. The only change is, or addition to it, when we have the inequality sign, we have a group of numbers as the answer, not just one. That's why we have to shake. Okay, let's move down a little bit. I don't know what everybody's having a problem with. That's not it. Well, let's go ahead and do this one first. Let's go and do number 3, and then I'll find that other one. Draw a line. What are we going to do first? Combine the negative 3 and the 4. Remember, we talked about this. If it cannot be combined with anything, it's right there. So if I've already used it up, that's a negative 3. So what's negative 3 plus 4? 1. We have plus 1 is greater than 7. So if we subtract 1 from both sides, we're going to read that as n is greater than 6. So if I find 6 on my number line, we're going to have an open or closed circle. Open, because it cannot include it. So over here I'm going to say open circle, because it's strictly greater than. And if I want greater, do I want to go to 5 or 7? 7. So we're going to shade it this way. Those are the questions that you need to be asking each time. So let me have a question on those two. Okay. Let's over and look at the next page, starting with number 7. I think this is the one that was causing the issue earlier. Okay, we have parentheses. What are we going to do first? Distribute. So I'm going to keep negative 9 greater than or equal to negative 8 minus 48, and then this one minus 1 is stuck here. Y is stuck there at the end. So we have negative 8 minus 48y minus 1. Yeah, you can use a V or a Y, whichever letter, you know, at. Just gotta be a letter. So if we combine like terms like we did before, we've still got negative 9 is greater than or equal to. We've got the negative 48 with our letter, B, Y, whichever one it is. What's negative 8 minus 1?
9.
Negative 9. So what are we going to do to both sides? Also the negative is positive, so we're going to add 9 to both sides. This one gives us 0. How do we get rid of negative 48? Divide. So if I divide both sides by negative 48, what's 0 divided by anything? 0. And because we divided by a negative, gotta flip the sign. So we end up with that, which we're going to read as 0 is less than or equal to y, which is all numbers. So I'm going to find 0 on my number line. We have an open and closed circle on 0. Closed, because it can be equal to. Now think about what it says. 0 is less than what? This could be written y, open it to the y, is greater than or equal to 0. Either one of these, that's the same thing. So which way do we want to shade? What works? The 1 or the negative 1? Negative 1 is greater than 0? 1. Doesn't matter which way you look at it. 1 is what's going to work. So we want to shade that way. Had several people having a problem with the fact that it was a 0. Doesn't matter if it's a 0. Okay? So if you look at number 12, it's not overly difficult, but we have a 4x on one side, we have an x on the other side. If you need to write the 1, we can write in the 1. It doesn't matter which one you move. However, because of the inequality and having a negative situation, if we will move the smaller one, whichever side you move it to, it's going to avoid an issue, because now we're going to have 5 plus 3x is greater than or equal to 8. We don't have a negative involved with our x, so we're not going to put the inequality sign or anything, and it's going to cause less issues. So then if we subtract our 5, 3x is greater than or equal to 3, or x is greater than or equal to 1. So then we can find our 1. And most of you don't have much issue when it's all positive. If x is greater, do I want to go left or right? Right. We want to go right because 2 is greater. So we did have a closed circle because of that. I mainly just want to point out this one and show you that even though you may move either term, if you will start with the smaller one, you will start with the smaller x, it will prevent some issues. Okay, let's do the last one. It's like the most difficult one on here. Probably really not, but y'all think it is. Look at 24.
Oh.
A bunch of numbers, letters, negatives, all kinds of stuff. So, do one thing at a time. What are we going to do first? Okay, we can distribute. So if we keep everything the same, we've got negative 48x plus 42 plus 32x minus 8. You've all got calculators, you've done multiplication. Very long, but it's not hard. So now we need to look at combining like terms. So we look at the left side. What can we put together? So we can put together the x's. So what do we have? 4x. And what about our number part? Negative 6. We have negative 8 and positive 2. We can put those together. We still have less than. We haven't changed anything. Over on this side, what are we going to get when we combine our letters?
There's a wire.
It's an x. Okay, negative 16x. Negative 48 plus 32. And what's 42 minus 8?
It's 34.
34, isn't it? 34. So we have plus 34. Okay, well now it doesn't look quite as bad. We want to avoid an issue with the negative. Look at your letters. What's smaller? 4 or negative 16?
4. Or 16.
Negative 16 is negative. So, let's move that one. Put that 16x to both sides. That's gone. We've got 20x minus 6 is less than 34. Building things one step at a time. Doesn't mean you have to, in your head, go straight to the answer. It means you take it one step at a time. Well, now we're to a two-step equation. In this case, inequality. So when we add 6, we're going to have 20x is less than 40. Divide both sides by our 20. And x is less than what? 2. So it looked like a mess up there, but if we take it one step at a time, and you may have done the first thing a little differently, combining the left side maybe together first. But the idea is to get rid of all this mess so that we have something that's a little bit easier to deal with. Then we can work with the inequality part. So, to finish it, we've got our line here, our 2. So we want to open or close circle? Open, because it cannot be 2. Be really close to it. We want to open circle, and we want all of the x's less than 2. So do we want to go toward 3 or 1? Toward the 1. Because all of this is less. So inequalities really are the same as the solving multi-step equations, with the exception that we don't have a single number answer. We have a group of numbers, so we have to shade. And we have the exception, if we divide by negative, we have to be sure and put the sign. Other than that, it's going to be the same thing.